Well, welcome back, everybody. Week 7 update. Let's just get right into it. We're going to start off on a neighbor's farm. This is an evening hunt. I'm set up between two cornfields. I've been there before. This isn't the first time in. Saw a ton of deer and a really good buck, so let's just get into it. So I saw a lot of year and a half, 2.5, and 3.5-year-old bucks this night. There was a hot doe that I saw actually in front of me in this ditch. I never got any video footage of it, but about an hour before quitting time, she showed up out on this cut corn, and here she is. I'll focus here in a second. But this is probably a good 120 yards away from me. You can see my camera's swaying a little bit. Pretty windy out. And this buck was behind her all night. So I saw this buck back in the timber earlier in the evening. Like I said, I never got the video camera up. My first instinct when I'm doing this, just so you guys know, is I'm a hunter first. Not a YouTube star. No ambition to be one. So my first instinct when I saw these two deer, this buck and this doe, an hour earlier, was to pick up binoculars, get ready for a shot, maybe pick up my bow, whatever. So I didn't get any footage. So now when they stepped out on this corn pretty far away, I thought there was probably zero chance I was going to get a shot at this buck. So my instinct here was to pick up the camera and start filming. I have no history with this buck. He showed up on this farm this year as a new buck. I don't have any history with him from the past. I'm going to say he's 4. He's a 4-year-old buck, just because his front shoulders, you can kind of see that taper. The front shoulders are wider than the ass. He doesn't have a beer belly yet, which is normally what you see at 5 and 6 and later. But what a beautiful buck. And he was out there with that doe all night. So I want to say an hour and a half. Obviously, I'm not going to show you that much footage. My hope was that at some point he would just chase her and end up, running past me or something like that. But so there he chased her down over these waterways. But it wasn't just a couple minutes later. You can kind of see them on the left side of the frame. There they are back. And I think at one point, you can see how she's kind of hunched up. She hunches up more later in the video. So they were on my side of that waterway and on the back side of that waterway. And I think at one point he must have bred her, because she was hunched up pretty good. But all night long, I had these bucks, these 1.5 and 2.5s, running around behind me and in front of me and to my side, because that hot doe is in the area. And I didn't get all these on film, just because I wanted to be careful not to bump any of them with that big buck out on that field. But yeah, there was bucks like this running around all night long, which is what you'll see when you have a hot doe in the area. See how she's hunched up there? So I think that he just got done breeding her on the backside of that waterway. So my plan, it obviously got dark, I didn't get a shot. My plan is to go right back into the same stand, and hopefully they would show up. And I'm going to do a rattling sequence here. So I was in the middle of my rattling sequence. I was probably just about getting ready to, to hang it up. And this little 8-point comes charging in. And this is typical for me. When I do a rattling sequence, I would say most often a deer will come running in the first 30 seconds to a minute. That's the most typical response I have. And I was hoping it was that big buck from the night before. Obviously he wasn't. But I just wanted to show that clip because that's why I do my rattling sequences hard and short. Because I typically have very fast responses. So this is maybe the next morning, I'm not quite sure. I didn't get a very good clip of this buck. I think he's another 4-year-old. Probably not what I'm looking for this year, but I look up and there he was in that shooting lane. I call it a shooting lane, but it's pretty long, and I only got that short clip of him. This is in a stand I call Mustang, probably one of our better spots. Saw quite a few bucks this morning. That one I just showed you was the biggest one. When I first seen this buck coming in, he was walking right at me down a shooting lane, just behind him, and I panicked because he was on top of me before I saw him. And my initial reaction was, big buck, but it took me only a few seconds to realize it wasn't. But if only that was a big buck. So now we're in this stand I call RV, and I saw quite a few bucks here this night too. It's an evening hunt. I didn't get them all on film. This past week, I would say maybe I got a third of the bucks that I saw on film. And the reason why is because it's all happens so fast, and a lot of times I'm hunting by thick cover, and I'll have other deer around me. So I just can't get the camera on these deer fast enough, and I don't want to spook anything if I can help it. White antlered 8-pointer, probably a 2-year-old. This buck is a long ways off through the timber. Surprised I could even get on him. But he's cruising what I would say is like a perimeter trail. He's downwind side of bedding. I'm farther downwind side of bedding. And he makes it all the way over by me. Now, this is not... Generally, you don't want this to happen, but he comes right in under the tree and he actually walks out on my entrance trail. So right now he's on the perimeter trail. He's supposed to keep going straight there, but he doesn't. I'm surprised when he got behind me, which would have been downwind, he didn't stomp or snort or anything, because I'm sure he smelt me at some point. Here I am at the bridge stand. A lot of chasing and grunting and stuff this morning. It was a beautiful morning to be on stand. Light frost, sun coming up. This past week, it seems like a lot of the bucks that Wishbone and I saw were with hot does, which you would expect that. So for us, November 15th is peak breeding. Year in and year out, so you would expect like the 10th to the 20th, that 10-day period in there, that there's going to be a lot of does that are going to be in heat and being bred. And that's pretty much what we saw. That sun came up over the horizon, and I thought it was so cool how it kind of melted the frost off of these trees. This guy read the script, used that ditch crossing. Too bad it wasn't a big shooter, but this might have been that same 8-pointer from the day before. The morning before. This next clip coming up is one of my favorite stands. It's Danger Zone, and I just want you to listen to this tree stand. You hear the squeaking? So this stand has to get redone. Yeah, that's not going to work. That's kind of been our season this year. Just wrong place at the wrong time, and just a lot of these things happen. I want to show some footage of this buck Kaminsky. This is from 2 years ago. So this kind of started my chase for this buck Kaminsky. And we found out this past week that he died. He died just this past week. This is the best video clip of him that I have. So this is 2022. This is late muzzleloader. And I think he's probably 4 years old here. I let him go. He's pretty run down at this point. But I've been trying to hunt this deer all last year and then this year. Last year I never really had a game plan on him. This year I think I had a legitimate chance on killing this buck. But it just never happened. So a couple 3 bucks that we've been hunting this year are all dead. So we'll go through that. So Kaminsky died. Here he is last year. You can see he's got a blind eye. Pretty easy to tell what deer this is. This is just a few days ago. Let's see what the date on here is. On the 10th. And here the neighbor came over to my house and said, "Hey, I think I found this buck that you were hunting, and he's dead." And it is Kaminsky. So we don't know how he died, but he did in fact die. This is last year. This is Worm. Some of you guys probably saw some of this footage. I just wanted to put this footage on so I could talk about this buck. So I think this buck was 4 years old last year. Had a bunch of really good encounters with him. This is probably my best encounter with him. I was letting him go because Amy really wanted to get this deer, and that was probably her #1 deer to shoot this year. And he actually got harvested, killed by a hunter next door. The same hunter that, the same people I should say that came and got me about this Kaminsky buck that was died. So he died just this last week. So Kaminsky's dead, and Worm is dead. Worm is dead by a hunter. Kaminsky, probably natural causes, maybe EHD or a fight or something like that. So Worm is dead. And then the third buck is this buck called Pickett. Very, very massive, double fork brows. He's a 10-pointer. Really, really narrow. Not very wide at all. This is footage from him last year. I let him go. You can see his shoulders there. Just a big, massive, mature buck. I don't know why I didn't shoot him last year. I think he was so fun to hunt and so elusive that I just wanted to challenge myself that I could, put a hunt together on him and kill him and not just have it be luck. Because I kind of felt like this hunt where he came in, I wasn't necessarily hunting him. I just was in the right place at the right time. So I just wanted to let him go one more year. You see him here. This is last year. He knows something's up. He's kind of catching my wind there a little bit. But yeah, he died too. So this same guys that shot Worm and told me about Kaminsky, last spring, they found his dead carcass. So we had pictures of him late in the season. So I knew he made it through. So I just assumed he'd be back this year. But he died sometime in the winter of 23. Like very early spring 24. So he's no longer there to hunt. So that's the footage that I have for this last week. So just wanted to talk about this neighboring farm, kind of a little bit of a rant on, hunting with neighbors. But a couple of weeks ago I talked about, I had a neighbor on a farm that Wishbone and I hunted, that they always park in the same spot. They always access their land on this same fence line. Doesn't matter what wind direction it is. And this last week I went to that farm and I set up kind of as an observation. It's an inside corner, so it's a good hunt, but it's also an observation sit. And the guys came in a couple hours before quitting time. And I'm thinking they're going to park where they always park, you know, walk the same fence line, whatever. And I'm planning for that. But this time they park, or they don't park, I'm sorry. They actually drive in, but they drive in on our farm that we have permission to hunt. They drive right across the corn. So, you know, it's just, I'm sure every hunter that's watching this video has had these experiences where you have a neighbor. I mean, these guys are awful hunters. They're just, and I'm not trying to be mean. I don't know them personally, but, you know, now they're actually trespassing. So not only are they terrible hunters, but they're kind of being slobs about it. And I guess our choice, Wishbone and I, is we're probably just going to pull our stands and stuff that we have on that farm and just give it up. And I could create a bunch of drama. I could have got out of my stand and approached them and gotten an argument and stuff, and probably 30 years ago I would have done that. But now it's to the point where I'm just not going to let them ruin my season or ruin my hunting, or, you know, have this argument with them, because I don't think they're going to change. So just kind of wanted to get that off my chest. But like I said, everybody watching this video they could probably tell stories about such and such neighbor, or even a guy that they hunt with in camp, that are just terrible hunters, and they kind of ruin it for everybody. And that's this neighbor. And they're not ruining it just for me. There's probably several landowners over there that have, you know, that they trespass on their land. I've seen boot tracks on that property. So, you know, so that's an issue we have on that one property. So I wanted to kind of follow up from a couple weeks ago when I talked about that. I don't think I'll be back to that farm anymore this year, and then maybe in future years I'll try and hang a stand, maybe just to get tree stand time, but I'm not going to really put any more effort into that property going forward. So going forward here now, Wishbone and I have been kind of struggling to get right on a mature buck. And now you see some of our mature bucks are dead or have been dead. So one of the reasons why I really like to put plans together for October, because once you get in November, some of these bucks are going to start getting shot by your neighbors. In the case of Kaminsky, maybe died of natural causes. So the earlier in the season you can kill them, the better off you are. I see the neighbor here at home, the combine and the grain carts and stuff are pulled in on this corn that's been standing. It's still standing. So that might help when that corn comes off. But what do we got here? About 2.5 weeks left of season, and we're just going to keep bouncing around. And my thought is I'm going to just try and see if I can't pick up a mature buck. Now we're on the backside of peak breeding. So what is today, the 18th? So peak breeding is going to really come to an end here around the 20th of November. There's still going to be some does that are coming in heat the rest of November and early December, but it's really going to collapse. So these bucks are really going to expand potentially where they're looking for their next available breeding session. So I'm just going to keep on hunting good travel corridors and do the best I can. I'll probably back off on mornings a little bit just because I'm getting a little bit burned out getting up on mornings. And we'll see. We've got some really, really nasty days coming up with heavy, heavy winds and cold. So it'll be a challenge to stay on stand when the highs are, you know, around 30 and it's 40-mile-an-hour winds. So that'll be our strategy for the remaining couple weeks here of the season, is just to keep hunting, hoping we can get on one of these bucks that are, you know, using outside of their normal home range, and see if we can't get one in range. And then after that, we'll probably start getting ready toward our late muzzleloader season. So thanks for watching, and we'll be back in about a week.